The sun hung high over Harmony Heights like it had been paid to smile. Every blade of grass exactly 2.5 inches because the HOA said so. Welcome signs gleamed with fresh paint. Pride in perfection est. 1984. Mia Rodriguez, adjusted Lily's little cardigan for the third time, my fingers already slick with that old familiar dread. My 5-year-old clutched her stuffed bunny tighter as we walked the perfectly swept sidewalk toward the community clubhouse. Remember the rules, baby, I whispered, smoothing her dark curls. Quiet hands, happy face. She nodded, those big brown eyes dimming the way I'd taught her after 7 years of living under the iron fist of the Harmony Heights. HOA, it broke me every single time. Inside, the annual 40-year Harmony celebration was already in full swing. Crystal punch bowls reflected light across faces I'd been trying to impress since we moved in. Karen Whitmore, HOA president and self-appointed queen of the cul-de-sac, held court by the marble fireplace, her silver blonde bob gleaming like her reputation, untouchable, unquestionable. Her husband's anniversary bash for the board had pulled every retired lawyer, real estate shark, and nosy retiree in the neighborhood. I felt their eyes slide over us the second we stepped through the French doors. Conversations didn't stop. They just got heavier, laced with that special HOA judgment. There was Cynthia, Karen's sister and treasurer, her smile sharp as a freshly sharpened fine. Mia, darling, we weren't sure you'd make it after last quarter's fence height violation. The emphasis on you cut like a notice of noncompliance. Wouldn't miss it, I answered, my own smile a weapon I'd sharpened over years of $250 fines for aesthetic disruption. My husband Derek appeared at my elbow, his hand landing on the small of my back like a claim stake. Try to keep her calm tonight, he muttered, glancing at Lily. Mom hates disruptions. Our daughter wasn't disruptive. She was a child in a world that fined you for breathing too loudly. But I nodded, because that's what good residents did. Nod, smile, pay the fine, pretend your marriage wasn't built on HOA-approved silence. The clubhouse glittered with forced cheer. Every surface screamed wealth and control. Polished floors, gold-framed community standards plaques, diamonds at throats that probably cost more than my mortgage payment. I steered Lily toward a corner table where she might draw less attention, but even there we were exhibits under glass. The other wives clustered in their cliques, trading stories about charity galas and private tutors with the casual cruelty of people who'd never once questioned their right to exist here. Mommy, potty, Lily whispered. I scanned for an exit when Karen's voice boomed across the room like a gavel. A toast to 40 years of Harmony Heights excellence. Glasses rose like tiny guillotines. I lifted my water, never drank at these things, kept every faculty razor sharp. Lily fidgeted beside me, tiny fingers twisting Bunny's ear, a self-soothing tick that would be written up as visual clutter, if anyone noticed. The speech droned on about legacy, standards, the natural order of perfection. Words that meant everything if you were born into the right zip code, and nothing if you were like me, the girl from the wrong side of the freeway who somehow married the vice president's son. Lily shifted again. Her elbow brushed the edge of a crystal punch cup on the table beside us. Time stretched like cheap HOA enforcement tape as the cup tumbled. Red punch arced through the air like a warning flare, splashing straight across Karen Whitmore's pristine white designer blouse. The room sucked in a collective gasp. The crack of Karen's hand meeting my daughter's face split the air louder than any fine ever could. Lily didn't cry right away. For one frozen second, she just stood there, tiny body locked in shock, the red imprint blooming across her cheek like a forbidden rose. Then her mouth opened in a silent "oh," and the wail that followed carved straight into my bones. You little menace, Karen spat, dabbing at her ruined blouse with a napkin that probably cost $50. This is exactly what happens when we let standards slip. My body moved before my brain caught up. I dropped to my knees, gathering Lily into my arms while Bunny lay forgotten on the marble. The room spun, shocked faces, glittering jewels, neighbors stepping back or leaning in like vultures at a property value meeting. Karen, Derek's voice cut through Lily's sobs. I looked up at my husband, waiting for the words that would defend us. Instead, he straightened his tie. I'll handle this. He turned to me, eyes cold as an HOA violation letter. Take her out of here, Mia. Now. She hit her, Derek. She hit our child. You heard me. His jaw locked in that familiar way that meant the Whitmore name. And the HOA board mattered more than Whitmore blood when it ran through veins they considered substandard. Get her out before she makes this worse. Worse, I echoed, voice cracking. Your mother drew blood from a 5-year-old. Lily's nose had started bleeding, a thin red line staining my blouse. Karen adjusted her pearl necklace, supremely unbothered. Perhaps if you taught her proper behavior, discipline wouldn't be necessary. Though I suppose we can't expect much from certain breeding. The word breeding hung in the air like a lien on my house. Everyone understood. The Whitmores didn't just marry. They acquired compliant residents, and I'd been a risky acquisition tolerated only because I'd given Derek a child who now trembled in my arms. This is assault, I said, standing slowly on legs that shook but held. I could call the police. Karen laughed. Actually laughed, a sound like nails on a perfectly painted mailbox. Please do. I'm sure the chief would love to hear how the HOA president corrected a disruptive child at a private community event, especially when half his salary comes from our beautification fund donations. Derek grabbed my arm, fingers digging hard enough to leave tomorrow's bruise. Stop making a scene. Think about the neighborhood. I looked at him, really looked. This man I'd shared a bed with for 7 years, who'd watched me give birth, who'd promised to protect us. He stood there in his board-approved polo, every inch his mother's son, and I finally saw I'd been sleeping with the enemy. I'm thinking about our daughter, I said. Then take her home. He released me with a little shove. Cool down. We'll discuss this later when you're not so emotional. Emotional. The magic word they used whenever reality refused to match their covenants. I gathered Lily closer, bent to retrieve Bunny. As I straightened, I met Karen's eyes one last time. She smiled, certain she'd won, certain I'd slink out like every other time and swallow my rage like a $500 fine. You're right, I said quietly. We're leaving. The crowd parted like residents avoiding a yellow violation tag as I carried my daughter through the clubhouse. Whispers started immediately. Poor Derek. Difficult wife. That child clearly needs stronger enforcement. By tomorrow, the story would be rewritten. My reaction, the only real violation. At the door, Cynthia touched my shoulder. Dear, we do hope you'll both learn from this. The Harmony Heights name carries certain expectations. I didn't trust myself to speak. I just held Lily tighter and walked into the sunlight, leaving their golden cage behind. As I buckled Lily into her car seat, my phone began to ring. The first of 59 calls I would never answer. The call started before I'd even cleared the subdivision gates. First Derek, then Karen, then numbers I recognized as various board members and their spouses. By the time I pulled into our driveway, perfectly edged, of course, the count hit 23. I flipped the phone to silent and let them stack like unpaid fines. Lily had cried herself to sleep, face still swollen, dried blood crusted under her nose. I carried her inside, back aching from the weight of her and everything else. The house felt different now. Not home, but another extension of the HOA empire. Every room paid for with my silence. I cleaned her face gently with a warm washcloth, took time-stamped photos with my phone. She stirred but didn't wake, whimpering softly. I gave her children's Tylenol, tucked her in with Bunny, then sat on the floor beside her bed watching her breathe. The phone screen kept lighting up. 37 missed calls. 41. The texts started flooding in. Mia, this is unacceptable. Call immediately. You've embarrassed the entire board. Answer your damn phone. Do you have any idea what you've done? What I'd done? I laughed, but it came out cracked. By call 45, the voicemails piled up. I listened to one. Karen's sister Eleanor, voice dripping cultured venom. Marion, this behavior is precisely why we had concerns about your residency. You will apologize to President Whitmore immediately, or there will be consequences. Consequences? They had no clue. I walked to the kitchen, poured wine with shaking hands. The calls kept coming. 50. 51. Each ring a demand for submission, for me to play my part in their PR cleanup. They didn't want to hear about a grown woman striking a 5-year-old. They wanted me to help bury it under community standards. At 55 missed calls, I opened my laptop. In the harsh blue glow, I navigated to a folder I hadn't touched in 2 years. HOA, hidden, buried 3 subfolders deep, password protected. Inside lay my insurance policy, emails, bank statements, financial records I'd stumbled across while helping Derek with board paperwork. Transfers that didn't add up. Offshore accounts. Community improvement, funds funneled straight into Karen's personal vacation properties. Shell companies. Even the clubhouse renovation contract awarded to her brother-in-law at triple market rate. I'd stayed quiet then, terrified of losing Lily if I spoke up. But tonight at 2:38 a.m., watching call 59 light on my phone, I realized I'd already lost her. Not to eviction, but to a future where she'd learned violence was just discipline and silence was the price of staying. The final voicemail was Karen herself. You have until morning to fix this, Mia. You know what's at stake. Don't test the board. I didn't know. Everything. I opened a new email to David Shun, my college friend turned civil rights attorney. Subject, I need help. Short message, my daughter was assaulted. I have evidence. I'm ready to fight. My finger hovered over send. Once I hit it, no going back. Send. Next, I drafted to the entire board. Hand steady now, mind crystal clear. 59 calls. That's how many times you tried to reach me tonight. Not one asked if Lily was okay. Not one apologized. Every single one was to protect yourselves. To make sure I stayed quiet about Karen Whitmore striking a 5-year-old in front of 100 witnesses. I'm done being quiet. From now on, any communication goes through my attorney. And Karen, you were right about one thing. I do know what's at stake. Your precious empire, your reputation, your control. You taught me actions have consequences. Consider this your violation notice. I hit send at 3:47 a.m. and powered the phone off completely. In the morning, war would come. But tonight, I sat in my kitchen watching dawn creep over the identical roofs and felt something I hadn't felt in 7 years. Power. The Whitmore HOA had just created its own wrecking ball. They simply hadn't realized it yet. David arrived at my door by 8:15 a.m., looking like he'd slept in his suit. His face shifted from concern to fury the second he saw Lily's bruise in the morning light. Jesus, Mia. This is assault on a minor in front of witnesses. Witnesses who will suddenly remember nothing, I said, pouring him coffee. Or claim she deserved it. Not if we move fast. He pulled out legal pads, already strategizing. First, police report. Then emergency protective order against further contact. I showed him the photos, the timestamps clear. He documented everything while Lily colored quietly at the table. She'd asked about Grandma Karen only once. I told her some people don't know how to be kind, and we stay away. She nodded like it made perfect sense. Mia, why now? David asked. You put up with their crap for years. I watched my daughter draw a butterfly. They went after her. I can handle the fines, the stares, the 1,000 little cruelties. But they touched my child. That's the line. We were deep in planning when Derek's key turned in the lock. He still had one. He stormed in, face flushed. What the hell did you do? He slammed his phone down. Mom's been getting calls all morning. Board members, investors. Someone leaked that email. I sent it to the board only, I said calmly. If it leaked, that's on you. David stood between us. Mr. Whitmore, I'm representing your wife. Get out of my house. Actually, David's voice was steel and silk. Review your covenants. This house is in Mia's name, one of your mother's tax shelters. She decides who stays. I watched the color drain from Derek's face as the realization hit. His mother's schemes meant to hide assets had accidentally handed me leverage. Mia, please. His anger crumbled into panic. If this gets out the neighborhood, our reputation, your mother gave our daughter a black eye. She's 5. It was discipline. She ruined a $300 blouse. She's 5. The words tore out of me. You're overreacting. So emotional. I held up a hand. David, please explain to my husband why he needs to leave. David smiled thinly. Your wife has grounds for assault charges against your mother. Possible custody modification for unsafe environment. And, given the financial irregularities in these documents, possibly a lot more. Every word is evidence. I suggest you go. Derek looked between us, world tilting. You planned this. No, I said quietly. You planned it every time you chose the board over us. Every time you told me to be quieter, smaller, less. You planned it when you stood there last night and told me to leave instead of protecting our child. She's my child too. Then where were you when she needed you? The silence snapped. Derek grabbed his phone, backing toward the door. This isn't over. Mom's lawyers will bury you. You think you can fight the Whitmore, HOA, you're nobody. You've always been nobody. After he left, David and I sat while Lily napped. He reviewed the documents, whistling low. Mia, this is massive. Embezzlement. Money laundering through community fees, fraud. How long have you known? 2 years. Found it by accident. Saved it by instinct. I traced my coffee mug. I thought I was paranoid. You were smart. He closed the folder. This is enough to bring down the whole operation, but they'll fight dirty. You ready? I thought about 59 calls, about Lily's bruised face, about 7 years of being told I wasn't enough. They already fight dirty, I said. Now it's my turn. David made calls. I made lunch for Lily. Somewhere across the manicured lawns, the Whitmore HOA empire felt its first hairline crack. They taught me to be quiet. They should have taught me to be harmless. The coffee shop was deliberately public. Witnesses everywhere, security cameras in every corner. Karen Mitchell looked exactly like her byline photo, sharp eyes behind designer glasses, silver hair in a no-nonsense bun. She won a Pulitzer for exposing crooked HOAs. Now she sat across from me, digital recorder between us like a bridge to justice. Before we start, she said, I need to know why you're coming forward now. My sources say you've sat on this for years. I slid the photos of Lily across the table. Karen's expression didn't change, but her knuckles whitened around her latte. Karen Whitmore did this in front of 100 of the neighborhood's most powerful people. Not one step forward. She studied the images than me. You understand what happens when this story breaks. The Whitmores don't just lose, they destroy their enemies. I've seen families fined into bankruptcy, reputations shredded, houses leaned to hell. They already destroyed me, I said simply. Now I'm returning the favor. Karen nodded slowly and turned on the recorder. For the next 3 hours, I laid out everything. The financial documents, shell companies, properties registered in my name I'd never bought, tax shelters Karen had tricked me into signing as board secretary. She asked precise questions, cross-reference dates, verified with surgical thoroughness. This house you're living in, she said, pulling up property records on her tablet, has been in your name for 4 years, but you never knew? Derek handled all finances. I signed what he told me to sign. The shame burned, but I pushed through. I trusted him. Classic tactic. They use compliant spouses as unwitting shells. She made notes. But here's the interesting part. Legally, these assets are yours. All of them. 5 community properties, 2 commercial lots, even the clubhouse renovation fund. Total value around $40 million. The number hit like vertigo. While I've been clipping coupons and begging for grocery money, I'd technically been worth millions. The irony was razor sharp. There's more, I said, pulling out the final folder. Karen's been using the beautification fund as a personal ATM. Donations in, contracts to family businesses out. I have 5 years of records. Karen's eyes lit up like a code enforcement officer spotting an unapproved garden gnome. The Whitmore Foundation, The one that funds half the city's parks and schools. Used to wash money and dodge taxes? She sat back, processing the scope. Mia, this isn't just a story. This is federal. FBI, IRS, possibly RICO. Once I publish, there's no controlling where it goes. Good. We spent another hour building timelines. Karen had sources who could verify the trails. She promised initial anonymity, though we both knew it wouldn't last. As we prepared to leave, she asked, "Where's her daughter now?" "With a babysitter, a friend from preschool. Consider somewhere more secure." When cornered, women like Karen don't always play by the covenants. That night, I moved Lily to my cousin's 2 states away. She thought it was a surprise vacation and bounced with excitement. I kissed her goodbye, promised I'd join soon, and drove back alone to face the storm. David called as I entered the empty house. "Mia, we have a problem. The Whitmores filed an emergency complaint with Child Services. They're claiming you're unstable, that you kidnapped Lily after assaulting the president. She's with family. They don't care. They're painting you as mentally ill, saying the slap never happened, that you're delusional. They've got 3 affidavits. 3 from a room of 100. Who? Cynthia Whitmore, Eleanor Whitmore, and Dr. Patricia Morse, the one who was halfway through her 4th martini when Karen struck my child. Hearings Thursday. 2 days. Mia, they're moving fast. Someone tipped them about the investigation. Through my kitchen window, I noticed a black SUV parked across the street. It had been there when I arrived. "David, I think I'm being watched. Document everything, photos times plates. We'll add harassment to the charges." After we hung up, I made tea and sat staring at that car. Let them watch. Let them see a woman with nothing left to lose. Karen texted at 11:47 p.m. Story goes live Monday morning. Federal sources confirmed. This is going to be huge. 5 days to survive whatever the Whitmores threw at me. I smiled at the SUV and raised my mug in a mock toast. The war was about to begin. The Child Services hearing was a masterclass in Whitmore manipulation. They'd hired Judith Blackwood, the attorney who'd gotten billionaires' kids back from CPS. She stood in her $5,000 suit painting me as a delusional woman who'd endangered her own child. Mrs. Rodriguez has a history of emotional instability, Blackwood told the judge, producing medical records I didn't recognize. These documents show multiple prescriptions for anxiety and therapy for paranoid ideation. Fabricated, David objected, but Blackwood rolled on. She fled the state with the child after allegedly assaulting the HOA president at a community event. Witnesses confirmed she created a disturbance, made wild accusations, then disappeared with Lily. 3 witnesses took the stand, each reciting the same rehearsed script. I'd been drinking, became belligerent when asked to control my disruptive child, invented the assault when confronted. Cynthia actually squeezed out tears describing her concern for poor little Lily. I sat frozen watching my life rewritten in real time. David took furious notes, but I felt the tide turning. Then they played their trump card. "Your Honor," Blackwood announced, "we have evidence, Mrs. Rodriguez has been engaging in an extramarital affair with her attorney, David Chun." Objection. David shot up. Slander. I have photographs. Blackwood produced enlarged images of David entering my house at various times. This relationship clearly compromises testimony. "He's my lawyer," I said, voice cutting through the circus. "Those photos show my attorney discussing my daughter's assault, but you already know that." Judge Patricia Kemp. I recognized her from Karen's donor brunches, barely glanced at me. "Mrs. Rodriguez, you'll speak only when addressed." The final blow came from Dr. Morse, now sober and credible in her white coat. She testified about my concerning patterns and recommended immediate intervention for Lily's safety. "Where's your daughter now, Mrs. Rodriguez?" the judge asked. "With family, Your Honor, safe." "You mean hidden?" She reviewed notes. "I'm granting temporary emergency custody to the paternal grandparents pending investigation. Effective immediately. You have 48 hours to produce the child." My world tilted. David argued, filed objections. I heard only white noise. They were trying to take her. Outside the courthouse, Derek waited by a black SUV. It doesn't have to be this way, Mia. Come home. Apologize. We'll get therapy. You let her hit Lily. It was a mistake. Mom overreacted. But what you're doing is destroying everything. Good. He grabbed my arm. You think you've won? You've lost everything. Your daughter, your home, your future. And for what? Some pathetic revenge fantasy. I looked at him. Really looked. When had he become this stranger? Let go of me, Derek. Or what? You'll make up another story? David appeared. Mr. Whitmore, remove your hand or I add assault. Derek released me with a shove. 48 hours, Mia. Don't make us hunt for her. That night, the social media smear campaign began. My face appeared on neighborhood Facebook groups, Nextdoor, even the HOA app. Always unflattering photos, always captioned with mental illness buzzwords, child endangerment lies, family destruction warnings. Comments flooded from freshly created accounts spreading the same script. Unstable mother, dangerous woman, poor Whitmore family. My phone rang nonstop. Reporters with the board's version demanding comment. Someone leaked my number to local parenting forums, and the threats started. Strangers telling me I deserved to lose my child, that women like me were what was wrong with society. David worked through the night, filing appeals, demanding evidence authentication, but we both knew in 48 hours I'd have to choose. Hand Lily over to the people who'd hurt her or become a fugitive. At 3:21 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text from Karen Mitchell. Something big happening. Federal sources moving faster than expected. Hold tight. I stood at my window, watching the surveillance SUV that hadn't moved in days. They thought they'd won. They played every dirty card, destroyed my reputation, painted me the villain. But they'd made one fatal miscalculation. They'd left me with nothing to lose. And a mother with nothing to lose is the most dangerous creature in any subdivision. Monday morning broke like Judgment Day. I woke to 17 missed calls from David, all before 6 a.m. When I called back, his voice crackled with electricity. Turn on the news. Any channel. Every major network led with the same headline. Harmony Heights, HOA empire built on fraud. Federal investigation reveals decades of financial crimes. I watched Karen Whitmore's face fill the screen. File footage from charity galas where she played benevolent neighborhood matriarch. Karen Mitchell's voice narrated. Documents obtained by this network reveal systematic embezzlement of homeowner dues, money laundering through beautification funds, and millions in assets hidden through an elaborate shell game using resident names. Then the knockout punch. The investigation accelerated after HOA President Karen Whitmore was witnessed physically assaulting her 5-year-old granddaughter at a community gathering. When the child's mother attempted to protect her, she discovered she was unknowingly the registered owner of multiple properties used in the fraud scheme. My phone exploded. Reporters, former friends who'd ghosted me, distant relatives suddenly concerned. I ignored them all, glued to the television as federal agents walked into the HOA office. The footage was pure poetry. Karen being led out in handcuffs, silver bob disheveled, armor of untouchability finally cracked. Derek beside her, microphones shoved in their faces. David arrived as more news broke. The FBI raided their homes at 5 a.m. Karen, Cynthia, 3 board members, all arrested. Assets frozen, documents seized. He grinned like a kid on Christmas. Mia, the child services ruling is suspended pending investigation. Judge Kemp is under review for taking donations. Those properties in your name, legally yours, free and clear. FBI confirmed you had no knowledge. You're a victim, not a perpetrator. A victim about to become very wealthy from her victimhood. The irony tasted sweeter than any HOA-approved lemonade. By noon, the Whitmore narrative had flipped. The same social media accounts attacking me were now deleted or frantically backpedaling. Dr. Morse released a statement claiming she'd been pressured to testify. The three witnesses suddenly developed very different memories of that night. Eleanor Whitmore appeared on courthouse steps, designer suits still impeccable. This is a witch hunt orchestrated by a vindictive resident who couldn't accept her place in the community. We will fight these baseless accusations. A reporter cut her off. What about the assault on your granddaughter? Eleanor's mask slipped for one glorious second, revealing the venom. Children need discipline. If modern mothers understood that, her lawyer yanked her away, but the damage was done. The clip went viral in minutes. The HOA queen essentially admitting she condoned child abuse. Karen Mitchell called that afternoon. How are you holding up? I feel like I'm watching a movie about someone else's life. It's going to get more surreal. My sources say Karen is already trying to flip on everyone to save herself. The whole board is eating itself alive. She paused. You did this, Mia. You saved your daughter and probably dozens of other families buried under bogus fines. That evening, Derek showed up at my door, no SUV this time. He'd taken an Uber, hollow-eyed and desperate. Please, just 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I let him in. He stood in the foyer like a stranger. They're taking everything. The houses, the accounts, the board seats. My trust fund was built on laundered dues. I have nothing. You have what you always gave me. Nothing. Mia, I'm sorry. I should have protected Lily. I should have stood up to her. Tears ran down his face. I felt only hollow observation. You were complicit. I know. He wiped his face with his sleeve. I'm going to testify against all of them. David says if I cooperate fully, maybe I avoid prison. Why are you telling me this? Because you won. And you were right about everything. He looked around the house he'd never really lived in, just occupied. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I finally see it. What we did to you, what I let them do. He turned to leave, then paused. Tell Lily, tell her daddy sorry. He wasn't brave like mommy. After he left, I called my cousin. Bring her home, I said. Bring my baby home. The war was over. I'd won. But victories like this don't feel like triumph. They feel like finally breathing after years of drowning. Like waking from a nightmare to realize the monsters were real, but you survived them anyway. The Whitmore HOA collapsed like dominoes. Karen got 25 years federal time. She'd die in prison. Cynthia fled the country before her warrant dropped. Eleanor suffered a stroke during the trial and now lived in a care facility. Her world shrunk to one room and daytime television. The precious Harmony Heights name became synonymous with corruption. Their portraits quietly removed from park benches and welcome signs. I sold 4 of the properties, kept the house Lily and I lived in, and put the rest in trust for her education. The money felt strange, tainted, but necessary. I donated a huge portion to children's advocacy groups, turning their dirty dues into something clean. But this isn't really a story about money or revenge. It's about the morning Lily came home, running into my arms like nothing had changed. It's about her starting therapy to process what happened, slowly learning love doesn't come with conditions or bruises. It's about bedtime stories where the princesses save themselves and tea parties where no one has to perform perfection. It's about the first time she spilled juice at dinner and didn't flinch, didn't apologize frantically. She just said, oops, and helped clean it up, secure in the knowledge that accidents don't equal punishment. Today we're baking cookies in our kitchen, bigger and brighter than the one they never thought I deserved. Flour dusts every surface. Lily's got chocolate on her nose. She's singing off-key to Disney songs, completely unconscious of anything but joy. Bunny watches from the counter, silent witness to our new life. Mommy, she says suddenly, remember when Grandma Karen was mean? My hand's still on the mixing bowl. Yes, baby. I remember. We don't see her anymore. No, we don't. She considers this, then nods with 5-year-old finality. Good. She needed a timeout. A really long one. I laugh. Really laugh for the first time in months. Yes, she did. The doorbell rings. Through the peephole, I see David with takeout bags. He's become a regular dinner guest. Nothing more, despite what the Whitmores tried to imply. Some wounds need time before new possibilities bloom. Uncle David. Lily races to the door, flour-covered hands and all. As I watch them joke about her cookie mess, I think about silence. How it starts small. Don't make waves, don't cause trouble, don't be difficult. How it grows until you're drowning in your own voicelessness. Until staying quiet feels safer than speaking truth. But silence is not safety. It's surrender. The Whitmores taught me that. They taught me power respects only power, that kindness without boundaries is just weakness in a prettier dress. They taught me sometimes burning covenants is the only way to stop people from walking all over you. Karen's slap hadn't just hit my daughter. It woke something primal in me. Mother rage. Ancient and absolute. The kind that moves mountains and topples empires, that turns compliant residents into warriors. They'd created their own destroyer. They'd forged me in their contempt, sharpened me with their cruelty, armed me with their arrogance. They'd given me everything I needed to bring them down. They just never thought I'd use it. Now in my flour-dusted kitchen, with my daughter's laughter filling spaces that used to echo with loneliness, I understand the truth. I wasn't the one who destroyed the Whitmore HOA. They destroyed themselves the moment they decided some residents were worth less than others. The moment they chose reputation over right, control over protection, perfection over people. I just held up the mirror. And sometimes that's all it takes to shatter an empire, showing it what it really is. Mommy, the cookies are burning. I rush to the oven, pulling out slightly charred cookies. Lily giggles. They're perfect, she declares. Because in our house now, imperfect things are still worthy of love. She's right. They're perfect. We're perfect. And we're finally, blessedly free. Thank you so much for listening to this story of resilience, justice, and the fierce love of a mother protecting her child against HOA tyranny. I hope Mia's journey resonated with you. Where are you listening from today? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What would you have done in Mia's situation? Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and share your own experiences with standing up against those who thought you'd stay silent forever. Your stories matter, and this community is here to listen. Until next time, remember, your voice is your power. Use it. The end.